Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. 24 minutes past 8 o'clock in the United Kingdom. That will be 24 minutes past 11 o'clock in Uganda or East Africa. Welcome to Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. Tonight, we are talking, it's a mishmash program, like I said, looking at the family dynamics in the diaspora. Tonight, we are honored to have a special guest in our studios in 75W Radio. That is Mr. Twaha Mukiwi of Salam TV. Well, very well known, a huge debater. He holds very interesting conversations. He's in the UK at the moment, and it is quite interesting. We'll be doing a couple of programs with him, but tonight he's coming just to get the warmth of the studios. And inshallah, we shall be hearing from him as he hears from the conversations going on in here. Also, in the 75 W Radio studios in London, we've got Ustad Zaid Mahabuba, a regular on this program, but now sitting in the studios and off the mobile studio. My name is Kassim Kayira, and tonight, inshallah, we shall be trying to delve into a couple of things. Remember, with this program, you can always, well, we use English, but we can also use Luganda, which is one of our main languages, or any other language that might be understood or understandable. Tonight, we are looking at the family dynamics, issues to do with building families. Increasingly, and over the past, we've had a number of Ugandans who have gone into the diaspora deciding to look back when it comes to the time of marriage. Sometimes it is once the marriages that they're in have failed where they are. Sometimes they are first timers. Sometimes it's about the families that decide and say, we have found a very suitable spouse that may make you happy. Person boards, and then sometimes it is even done remotely. Husband or spouse cannot make it in time, and so the relatives of the groom go and visit the bride's family and they do nikah remotely. And now with technology, of course, it means they can be following that live from wherever they are. The other side of it is just people who have ended up getting married here in the diaspora. Times again, it is very circumstantial. You come in, you're waiting for papers, you meet someone who is also in the same process, one thing leads to another. Before you know it, you're married. Maybe it is someone who is already here, and sometimes it is as a result of wanting to get papers. So you get married to this person, and quite often you'll find that I think there are more cases of women who have got married to men who are looking for papers, as opposed to women. I might be wrong. You can correct me as the conversation advances. So there is that aspect that there are people who have met here in the diaspora, circumstantially met, and then ended up in union. There are others who, well, through families that know each other, they've come out, and you get married. But increasingly now, and this is one dynamic that I think we will have to contend with going forward, many and several of our children are crossing borders. They are getting married across the races. So white men marrying black women, black men marrying white women, or even within the African diaspora itself, our own children getting married to especially Nigerians. But that is not exclusive, because Sierra Leoneans and Ghanaians and Zimbabweans have all been making, inroads. They have been making inroads into that. And that's another dynamic. And that's why I thought tonight's program actually might find that even other aspects that I mentioned earlier might not come to fruition, because this marriage aspect alone, given those dynamics that go in, I think bring in a kind of dynamism that can constitute an adequate program for us to have a conversation where people are marrying from the different, tribes, different countries. And like I said, Nigerians, for example, now have really, really made an inroad. We have had other extreme cases where Jamaicans, for example, people from the Caribbean, also have started making inroads into our communities and getting married. There are few and far between cases where you've had people say from Angola or South Africa. It's not a usual thing, but it's not that it doesn't happen. I've attended a couple of weddings where we've had Angolans getting married to Ugandans. So that is something that is really, really growing. And I would like to hear, if you're one of those people probably who has ended up marrying a white woman or getting married, to a white man, how that has played out for you. It would be very, very interesting to hear, how that has played out, especially when it comes to the different cultural perspectives when you're going to get married, how did that play out? It would be very, very interesting to hear from you. And the way this program works, of course, is everybody's an expert. I would like to hear from your experience. It might not actually be about you. It might be about someone that you know. And we would like to hear that. Have a conversation around this and how these dynamics are affecting and impacting on our community. Because as you get more people now freely getting to intermarry across the races, across continents, you are beginning to get a new dynamic that probably as a continent, as a country, we didn't have before that. Welcome to Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. And we are live on 75W Radio, live on Umma Connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. It is about your stories. It's about the people that are getting married. Our children, we know when we came, probably we had some particular cultural attachments. I get Sarah in the chat room says marrying for papers is both male and female. Yeah, but I was trying to sort of gauge it is both, but whether you've had more on one side as opposed to the other, I think it would be interesting to hear. I don't know whether we have the right statistics for that. It would be quite interesting to hear that particular case. But if you're one person who has gone and decided to go back home and marry from home, carry or import your bride all the way from Channa Sanja or Visanje or Bukoman Simbi and brought them over here, what informed your decision? How was that for you? Especially after you've been away after some time. Yes, we were born there, we grew up there, but after being away after some time, probably there's a perspective. Was that pressure? Was that pressure or influence from your friends? But there are even cases where the younger generation, children born here or raised here, have grown up as adolescents, as adults, as young adults. Their parents now influence their decision to go and get married back home. How was that for you? Or vice versa, if you are married from here, how has that played? It is a conversation that definitely will have a lot. And I'd like to bring in Zaid. Ustad Zaid, I'd like to come to you straight, get us, having this conversation. I had Hajat Sarah making, alluding to something. I'd rather hear it from the horse's mouth other than hearing from Hajat Sarah. Go ahead, Ustad Zaid. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, Sheikh Zaid, are you there?
Yes, yes, take it.
All right. Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very interesting conversation that I had with you building up to this particular topic as I was preparing this topic. It's a conversation we had. And yes, I would like, first of all, I mean, you've been in the UK nearly 20 years, if I'm not wrong, close
20,
to that.
20 plus. 22 years now.
22 years. Oh, barakallahu fikum. Yes. Now, how much of an issue, how big is this issue of people going back home to get married back home?
Okay. It's it has its advantages and disadvantages. It's a very big issue. I think the community now has come to an understanding that due to the problems we've had as a community in the past, it's better. You know, there is a singer, there is a, what was his name? Luther Vandross. You know Luther Vandross?
Mm.
I didn't know Sheikh Zaid you knew Luther Vandross.
I don't pretend, man. I don't pretend. If I know something, I know it. Yeah, I know it. So Luther Vandross said, if you can't love the one you're with, no. If you can't be with the one you love, quote me well. If you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. I repeat,
Right.
if you can't be, or if you can't have the one you love the one you're with. Yeah? So we have come to an understanding that even though there is someone you really want to be with, and they are in Uganda, they can't get a visa, or for some reasons they can't be here. Yeah, you have to love the one you're with. You have to find love here, and randomly we متفق عليه is agreed upon that the one you are with in England, the one that has gone through what you have been through, will make your relationship work. Because most of the time, the people, men, we get men from Uganda or women from Uganda, when they come here, they think it's paradise. Or they might think Keke gets money from the trees like leaves, you know. But when they come here, it's another story. It's hard work. We work. You're not going to give them the time they need. Whatever they thought, it's not a dream. Yeah, it's not like a dream come true. No. You have to work. So, you know, KK, that money. I had a customer. I was taking him to Gatwick, and we had a discussion, and we both agreed that money spoils a lot of things. Money destroys a lot of things. Money is a destroyer of relationships. Yeah, any relationship. Mention.
Okay, I'd put my question this way, which is the kind of the direction I was trying to push it. I hear you loud and clear. My line and my point was, in comparison to the people that are getting married now, what sort of percentage do you think more people go back home to get married from home, or are they finding the spouses from here where they are in the diaspora?
Percentage. Those that go to Uganda, find love in Uganda, to marry people in Uganda, out of 100, on a scale of 100, will be 40%. 60%, they find love here.
And how easy has that been for those who have gone in comparison? Because I don't assume you know everyone, but at least of those 40%, you will know quite a number. Have their marriages been successful coming into the diaspora? When they've got married and managed to bring their spouses here, not keeping the wives the other end, but rather bringing them over. Has that been easy?
You mean bringing them over or staying in the relationship when after bringing them over? What's the question?
Yeah, because there are people who have brought wives, they've gone, married them, brought them here because the idea was, you bring them here,
so the question is, on a scale of 100, yeah? Relationships that have been successful, kwezes baje Uganda, yeah, those that bring their spouses from Uganda. On a percentage of 100, the successful ones will be about 5%. If it's not big, it might even be a big percentage, but it will be 5%. 95%, they separate within 2 years, 3 years down the line, they divorce. Yeah, because maybe now that
What's the reason for that?
now that the government has changed rules, your spouse has to be with you 5 years for them to get the papers. Sometimes now there's even a 10-year, yeah, period. So they might hold on until that period ends, and they get their papers and they're out. Yeah, but they're waiting for a period for them to go.
Why
Why?
is that? Yes.
Because KK, you left Uganda 22 years ago, 23 years ago, yeah? Your mindset is totally different from that of a Ugandan, from Muchivi's mindset. It's totally different. Yeah. So when you bring someone here, their mindset is different. And you expect, because you brought a wife here, you expect your wife to respect you, to, 6 months down the line, she gets her peers, she gets friends. You go with her, you bring her to my house, you take her to Isma's house. She starts conversations with our wives. They tell her what to do, how they treat their husbands. She changes, like the prophet went to, and the companions, when they went to Medina, their wives treated them differently in Mecca. And when they got to Medina, the wives, the Ansari, the wives in Medina, they treated them differently. Even matters of the matrimonial
Matters bedroom. Matters bedroom. Yes.
exactly, they were different. So they wanted to divorce them. So we are two different people. And when you've been here for so long, your mindset is different. Yeah. And you want the other person to be at your level. No, you can't. Yeah.
Why is there an insistence then? Why is there an insistence then for people to go and marry back home?
It's I'm not going to call it a mistake. Yeah. It's a very good thing. But if the statistics show otherwise, we should really be very careful going for that question. We should be really careful. Be very, really be careful.
Shezaid, I was just about to say, I'm sure people will respond to this. People will respond to this. It is definitely something that will open up a conversation. But if you've just joined us, welcome. The program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio, live on Umar Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. And we are looking at matters, the dynamics of life, of family life in the diaspora, which is a widespread thing. I've seen Zahara's message, and Zahara, you must be new to the conversation. Please allow me to hijack you and bring you into the conversation. We started with marriage, although there are different threads that tune into this. You seem to agree with Zaid, where he says, nice one, if you can't have the one you love, then love the one you have. Zahara, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You can unmute yourself. I've put you on the spot. I'm sorry. The way the program works is we are free spirits here. We just have open conversations, and therefore everyone is an expert in their particular areas. Zahra, are you in a position to speak, please? You can just click on that unmute button. I would like to hear from you. Still shying away. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Just trying to see. My system is very, very slow at the moment. Yes, of course, the issue we've started with was the issue of marriage, where we've talked about people who increasingly there have been people who have been going out back home to get married. Highly recommended. But according to Zaid, I mean, his statistics are sort of, well, they are not verified by the National Bureau of Statistics, but it is according to his own experience. And the idea being that he says that about 40% of marriages in the diaspora are people who go back to marry back home. He says out of these, just about 5% succeed to continue to coexist or exist in marriage. About 95% break. It might be slightly higher figure, but definitely that doesn't take away the fact that, yes, many marriages struggle or suffer, resulting, of course, from the different perspectives that woman comes from Africa, different setup, different setting, arrives in UK, the influences around them, the pressures within the family, and many end up breaking. But that's not only the particular strand that we're looking at. We're looking at, for example, people who have gone back and have had to marry from there. We're also talking about people who have found love where they are, because that leaves about 60% for people, especially the younger generation, people who came from home, arrived here, started living here, and then, of course, having grown up here, it's easy that they find people that they've grown up with, people that they can mix easily with. So about 60%, according to Zaid, end up, marrying from here. But there's that 40% that goes home. But increasingly, there has also been now a cross-cultural aspect. Nigerians, and I mentioned them because, it's quite a force. If you look within the Ugandan community, the number of Ugandans getting married to Nigerians is increasing pretty fast. But not only Nigerians, there are Zimbabweans, there are Ghanaians, there are South Africans. Love sort of just travels the way it wants. You can't stop it. Then there is the other aspect that there are those who have gotten married to the white community. So if you marry into a white community, there are also those particular dynamics. The family perspective, the manner in which they look at family is different. Are you going to be visiting in huge numbers? Would they take on that, or do they now start making it in such a way that now you have to be exclusive? One person was telling me how they were invited by, into a white family to go and visit. They had been invited to go the next day, and then tonight someone calls to say, "Hello, Kassim, how many potatoes do you eat?" Like in preparation for tomorrow's dinner, how many potatoes do you eat? There are these cultural aspects that are going to come, the dynamics that go into family. Are you able to influence, as a woman, influence your husband now to sort of start looking at, the new community in this perspective? As a man, are you able to influence your wife? Probably in this area, you might find that husbands are more likely to influence their wives, or wives, like Ugandan wives, are likely to influence their white husbands, or the Ugandan husbands are more likely to influence their white, wives to be part of, to sort of come and accept or integrate into the culture. Oh, it's down to the individual as a person. There are all these dynamics, and I think it would be interesting, especially for someone who has just come and who might end up, getting hooked up into, with someone. It may be that, that arises at a certain point. And therefore, I think understanding and appreciating these dynamics really would make a lot of sense. So I would like to hear from you, from your experiences or from experiences around, or it may be that you haven't married, for example, into another culture, but then we have children, our children are growing up. You have daughters, you have sons. Tomorrow they just say, I've found love, and this is where I've found love. How do you handle that, as a parent? Is there any guidance that you can, would there be any resistance, or because we are in a developed country, the situation would be different? I would like to hear your particular comments on these particular situations. Ajat Sarah, I come to you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hi,
وعليكم
Jack,
السلام ورحمة
because,
الله وبركاته.
yes, how are you once again?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. How are you, Sheikh Eke?
Allahumma Ameen. Well, recently, I mean, we've been hearing at least your children or your son ended up coming into the country. Alhamdulillah. I don't know whether they are already married, but now the dynamics will be there. Would you rather they marry back home, or would you rather they marry from here? bwakuleetera mukamwana omuzungu, how are you going to handle that? Have you, is that a conversation that you have had at any point at all?
I haven't had it yet, but it's still a major worry because, we have all different values, and that would cause a bit of a problem. For instance, if my son was to marry a Mzungu, born and raised here, someone who stocks their fridge with pork, they don't know anything to do with Allah. So how are you going to handle that? These are the problems we might face, because if someone brings in someone who is totally different from them, they are going to come up with issues. I've had a friend who married in Uganda, but still the problem was they met here, but they are both from Uganda. One comes from up north, one comes from the central. But they also have, much as they have the tribal barrier, they also have the religious barrier. So the lady grew up eating pork, and it's one of her favorite dishes. She drinks alcohol, and she buys all that and puts in the fridge. And this is a Muslim man who has had 3 children with that lady, and they are constantly fighting about that. So one day he approached me as an Omshalo Mukuru, let me use that, and said to me that here I am struggling with this woman. She's giving my children pork. She has alcohol. She tries even to disguise that she's not drinking alcohol and uses a cup to drink it. And I sat with him and I said to him that, don't you think you're fighting a losing battle? Because how would you come to teach someone who is over 30 that pork cannot be eaten? Where she was brought up, that was their main meal. Yeah, because she's married, you expect her to change your life. But I'm sure she's heard about Islam. If she respected you that much, she would know that she wouldn't bring pork in your house. Not only that, she's even giving it to the children, and also drinking alcohol. One time he was coming from Uganda, and amongst the things that the parents of his wife packed was Uganda waraj. And the mom made a point that she wrapped it so well, and there was a message in there, and I hope he doesn't see it. Someone who is bringing. So how? So it's like a game, really. If you have married someone who is different from you, I think there are going to be numerous challenges, and I don't know how that will sit with anyone. And not only that, how are they going to accept you? Well, I know when I was a young girl, my mom wasn't a Muslim when dad met her, but she did refer to Islam. But wherever we gathered, they would say Abasilam. All the time they would just refer as Abasilam, Abasilam. And it felt awkward. And you see them drinking themselves silly, and they were quite happy. And you never blinded. There is all differences that come up that would never make you comfortable, even you as a child. There is a young man who also complained that whenever he went to his grandpa's place, grandmother's place, because grandma was not a Muslim, the little pigs would run around and he wouldn't find a chance to pray because they would always cross his mat and play around. And then when they made him tea, because they used to brew alcohol, everything smelled alcohol. And this is a young boy of 10 years. And up to date, he really felt bad about that because he was a Muslim, raised a Muslim. So they may not even say as children, but it's a problem. Now, when you look at these men who go to Uganda to marry, I think in their heads, they want that woman who was like their auntie, their mom, the submissive woman. And yet when they bring that submissive woman from home, they are not going to act the total husbands like their dads used to be. You know, what am I calling a total husband? This is a man who provided, who looked after their wives to the extent of buying a nikah for them. So they are going to bring them here, and they want them to work at the same time to play the total submissive woman. Then they start clashing.
The woman would want to work as well. The woman would want to work as well.
Yeah, but when a woman works, she doesn't want to be the one paying rent of bills. Ako kasente ke kakuluzi. She wants to use her money at her own choosing. She doesn't want to be the one involved or in all the daily aspects of life, whereby you want to put a budget there for her. So you both are gone out to work, and then you expect her to be at home whenever she comes home to cook for you. Yeah. There is a man who always got irritated. He married a woman from another culture. But when he's asked, when he gets home and he's asked, would you like a cup of tea? He wants everything to happen automatically. He doesn't want to make a choice of tea. He wants a kettle boiling all the time he comes in the house. He couldn't get used to that. It was always offending him. Yeah, Onoria kumere. A man in Uganda, the moment they come in, you know what the next thing you're running to the kitchen and bringing food. So these are the differences that happen. Yes, it's okay to marry wherever you marry, but are you going to be really married into that relationship? Are you going to accept?
Now,
Yes,
on the
please.
first man that you had referred to, don't you think there was a failure in terms of communication? That there are particular conversations that you need to have before you end up falling head over heels, or maybe you might fall head over heels, but then taking it to the next level, because there are particular red lines that you would know that if I know this person, like for example, especially a person who came from Uganda, you would know very well. I grew up around Christians, and actually around Christmas time would be one of my busiest times, because within my locality, I would be the one going around slaughtering, because the Christians would invite Muslims to come for Christmas, and have a meal, and they knew that Muslims would not eat en calf. So it was like well known. They would come. Haji nani kushawishi umbajire agent yanje umbajire agent mbuzi musarama basarama bija kwija kurya. Even within themselves, they knew that a Muslim, or even non-Muslims, they would never eat like meat that has not been slaughtered by a Muslim. It was very traditional, except deep in the villages where the people would just go ahead and do some of these things. But a lot of times within, like urban centers, you found that people knew and respected that. Is this not a failure on the man's part, that probably this is a conversation that he would have had, to know that if someone is drinking and you've fallen in love with someone, they would, out of, well, respect can come in, but it would be at a point where someone knows that it inconveniences you. Because if I've just had my drink, you come and kiss me, the next thing is it's almost all right. Why would you then later on come to say you have to stop this when that had to be set up initially?
I wish I could have some answers for you, Shekeke. This is why I'm asking. I was also asking that gentleman who came to me, and I said to him that I think you're fighting a losing battle, because I know just the same way that we all know what Muslims do and what is acceptable in Islam and what is not acceptable. And also, I used to visit, and I had my kadomola for going in the toilet. The moment I leave, it is chucked in the bin. Yeah, and taken to be very dirty, the one we use for wudu. I don't know. It is quite difficult. I wish I could give you answers with that, because I found that this is not a marriage that is going to work. The poor man had 3 children, and he worried that if he goes, the woman will teach them differently. And it was around that time when there was some crises, when I don't know, the crisis is even right. When they bombed the American Tower, and then they used to show stuff like that on the TV, and even the children started saying they hated Muslims who are Muslims, and Mom was quite happy about that. She was just taking them to the schools which don't have nothing to do with Islam. When there was a time when parents were campaigning for halal food in the schools, the mom wasn't happy to vote for that. It was like everyone should be given a choice to have whatever they want. And what was also amazing, then the man realized that this marriage was going nowhere. Being a Muslim, he decided to marry a pure Muslim woman and from his own tribe. And the woman started bringing men in the house, even when she had children. It's like, if you can have another woman, I can also have another man.
Right.
it's so funny, and it seems funny, but it's so heartbreaking, you see. Yeah,
So
these are
now,
the
now
kind
with
of
your son,
women people
yeah.
have here. You
Mhm,
do this, I do that. Yeah,
mhm,
because they know they have their financial independence. They can do whatever they want. If they want, they'll change the locks, and then you can't come back in the house. So there are times when he went out and he would come home and look in the pockets of his jackets, and he doesn't have the house keys. The woman has taken them, and then he has to ring the bell to come in. The children opened for him to come in. So people are suffering here, and these are the reasons why some people have decided to go back home and marry. But there is one who also got someone from home, and maybe she wasn't so well prepared. You know, they look at people when they come home and they take them into higher standards, think they're coming to sleep in a mansion, and then when you end up renting a one bedroom, a one room, not a bedroom flat, but a room within a house, then
mhm.
things start becoming a problem. Yeah, someone saying they're sharing a house with another person or many other people, and the sizes of their places, the jobs they are doing here, the kind of weather, then it becomes a problem. That one also tried to marry out from Uganda, and within a few months, the woman ran off, and she even gotten a council house for herself, and she's living on her own. Because she could manage to get a council house because she had children. They had children from Uganda before they came here. So it's all a problem. I didn't know even I had anything to contribute until now.
No, but
I should leave you
with
with that.
conversations, that's the interesting thing, that once the trajectory of a conversation takes a particular direction, that I think can sort of bring. So now with your own son or with your daughter, would you rather they go and get married back home, or would you rather they stick here, they sort
It's
of
not
find love here?
something I have a choice in, I think, but still I have to speak to them and tell them the problems. Also, maybe trying to tell them about other people's stories, what has happened. By the end of the day, it's their choice. I would want them to marry from home, and maybe I would want them to marry from our religion. I would want them to do whatever they do from Uganda. But then, who am I? At the end of the day, they will end up making their own choices. But I pray
Right.
that to Allah that whatever they choose is the best for them and they get the best of guidance.
Thank you very much, Hajat Sarah. And I
Thank
see
you.
Daniel's iPhone. Daniel, welcome to the conversation. I'm sure you've heard Hajat Sarah. We are talking about the family dynamics in the diaspora. Daniel, are you there? Hello, Daniel's iPhone. Hello,
I'm
Daniel's
there.
iPhone.
I'm there.
Oh, hello. Hi, Daniel. How
Hello.
are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Thanks very much for joining us into the conversation. We are looking at family dynamics in the diaspora, and just heard from Hajat Sarah, looking at, well, situations, making comparisons. There are lots of strings to this particular conversation. I mean, we've been looking at, for example, according to Zaid, who was one of the first speakers, 40% of, like people in the diaspora still go back home to get married from home. About 60% still then go ahead to marry from where they are. There are pros and cons to this particular aspect. But beyond that, within our own communities, especially if you are now considering the 60% that marries from here, you have people that are marrying from across cultures. So even within Uganda, you'll have a person from the West or Central getting married to a person in the North and vice versa. Or you'll have now increasingly, like Nigerians or West Africans now beginning to cross into our East African space where they are marrying our daughters. Not so many Ugandans marrying Nigerian women, for example, but increasingly you have you have these ones who are marrying, but also now also across races, white, marrying black, black marrying white. Where do you come into this conversation? From what angle would you like to come into that aspect?
I just joined in. I'd love to hear more about the conversation.
No
I
problem.
prefer that I can hear from another speaker like Hajat.
No problem. No problem at
Yeah,
all. I just wanted to make sure you're there and you're feeling
yes,
welcome to
yes,
the.
I am. Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you. Hope to hear
Good.
from you later. Right. If you've just joined the conversation, the program is Come, Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We are live on 75W Radio, live on Umma Connected on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. And if you miss any of our programs, you can always catch up. Just go to facebook.com/75W Radio or go to YouTube and search for Umma Connected. Umma is UMMAH Connected. And just look for Come Let's Talk with Kassim Kayira. Engineer Isa Makumbi, I come to you. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the conversation. Hello, Engineer Makumbi. Let me hope you didn't raise your hand and sleep overtook you.
Hello.
Engineer
Can you hear me?
Makumbi there? All right. I thought you had logged on and then sleep
No,
just overcame you.
I can't log in when you're on your program.
Thank you very much. Good to know.
It's
Yes,
very interesting.
please
Yeah,
fire away. Go ahead.
that is a very interesting topic. And many people are falling off the cliff by not knowing what they want. I think someone who has been in Europe, coming back to Kampala or anywhere to marry a girl from here, when you take her to Europe, you are bound to have problems. You might have the same color, same background, but culture-wise, they're far apart, very different. You become a half Muzungu, the one who live behind, who's coming from Uganda, a typical Muganda woman or whatever, wherever she comes from. The two can't meet. When she said that she's getting married to a man from Europe, her expectation is too high. Think that as soon as she lands in London or elsewhere, streets will be paved with gold. There's a lot of pickings and life will be very easy. Or she has jobs, she's going to escape from poverty. Getting there is a very, very big shock. When she comes to know the life, and if she try to acclimatize or get used to the weather and everything, she gets hooked by these Ugandan those ladies who have been living there for so long. They give her induction into the bad habit and bad behavior, whereby you are very lucky. If she stays around for 2 years, you'll be with the lucky one. Anything she sees is new to her, so the temptation is too high. She finds the dodgy boys who tell a lot of lies, say, if you come to me, it will be so good. By the time she crosses, find that she's off in trouble. And well, for me, sincerely, if I was one that's a bachelor, if I was looking for someone to marry when I'm abroad, I'd rather marry or get a wife from abroad because she knows the culture, she knows all the corners, the difficulties, and the problems you face, foreigners in a foreign land.
Now, Engineer Makumbi, let me play the devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we go to Africa, and I'm speaking Uganda because we might have other people who would not necessarily come from Uganda, but you go back home, people who have come from abroad, abasama, you enter Uganda and musasanya sente. The kind of lives that you live once you've landed in Uganda are totally different from the real lives that you live here. So essentially, it's like ogenze kwe kubako mfufu when you travel.
Yeah.
You go there, you spend a bit of time on the beach, you're wearing these shorts. It looks like you have the time. Someone's daughter falls for you and they are seeing this kind of person that you have presented. You have all the time for them because you're going to go there from one beach to another. You can afford to go to Lake Mburo. Now you get married and the kind of expectations is this person is coming with you to Europe in the hope that once you get here, you will still carry at least a semblance of that kind of life once in a while. You come here, you arrive, you are working 7 days, 12 hours a day. You come back home, you are really a figment or a pigment of the person that you are. Totally different from the kind of person that you presented when you went to Uganda. Would you blame such a woman for having changed when they do?
I wouldn't blame the woman, but what else I tell those women who for those guys. Say the first 2 weeks, it will be splashing money around. Come after this 15th day, you see the real life, how they are, or their behavior when the money have dried out. You'll be lucky if they don't sell the
Just board
watches.
your plane and come back. You don't have to embarrass yourself.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's a problem that we are faced with. Whenever they're abroad or they watch movies, they think they see the life, artificial life there, which is shown on television. So they come with that illusion that when they come to Europe, things will be like that. But fail to understand that there it's artificial life, and it's very difficult for them to understand or to fit in that system. And the other one is culture. We believe we are the same color-wise, but their culture has changed. You see, when you marry one from Uganda, some of these typical man wants a woman kneeling down for them. As soon as she gets to London or anywhere, he says that is outdated and out-fashioned. So there'll be a crash of the culture. Is the man when he said that if comes, we expect the wife to do much of the work. But as soon as she gets here, life changes. She has to work and she's exhausted as well. So she'll ask you to share doing some work. And that's where the crash will come from. So when you're in Uganda, I was not doing anything. You are doing everything for me. But in your life, things have to change. And you just have to compromise and understand each other. And when it comes to life, you have to tell from the beginning that there are two different things, a wife and a girlfriend. I'm marrying a wife, but not a girlfriend. A wife has to be like a normal person. She has to live within her means. But if get a girlfriend, you take her out, you spend a lot of money on her. But if you spend money like that, you won't have anything left behind. So you just have to be real. If you're marrying someone, tell her all the situation, brief her before she boards the plane that what you see on the tellies, what you've been told about abroad, that's not the way of life is. There, any penny you get, there's no free money. You have to work for every penny. And it's not easy to get that.
So your advice then, Issa, would be that for a person who lives abroad, they'd rather marry in the diaspora, not go back home.
For me, I married from a diaspora and I will never regret.
That's what I was just about to ask, because how did you meet your wife?
I met my wife in university.
Yes.
We are living in one bedroom. She was used that it was normal life to live in one bedroom. So we started building from that. And we had the same goal that we have to work hard and do, if you have to improve of life, you have to put in more hours and have to be mean with their money and save any penny. If the wife was from Uganda, she wouldn't have survived, because what we went through, the beginning is not easy. You have to count every penny. Because she was abroad, she knew the way of life, how it was. That's why didn't we know our weakness, and she knows my weakness, and each one chips in to maximize her best. So that's why I meant to merge through and walk through the hard life. But
there are those, Bwana Issa, there are those who, for example, they start preparing a wife for you, like Eddie Murphy style, Coming to America style. They prepare the wife for you. So they basically there in the village, they prepare a girl and they bring the girl. It's not the girl from Kampala. The girls from Kampala, the TikTokers now and the WhatsAppers, that's a different generation. They are at a different speed, you know. That's the one that you bring. Actually, I heard about a particular incident that left me really, really gobsmacked. Someone went to Uganda, got married, found a very beautiful girl, you know, started dating and then arranged marriage, went and did a big wedding, was importing his wife, the bride into UK. But this girl, because she was your Kampala girl, she had already started connecting with the former boyfriend. And, you know, they were already communicating in Zija, visa ya furumie, tujja kuruno. This man unashamedly comes to the airport on the day the husband is arriving with his wife. They come, and the way they are hugging, they are greeting, and they are claiming, this guy claimed that they were related, so they were cousins. And so I don't know, like Shaitan would happen. This guy who is supposed to be a cousin influences and says mukyala wo unaze sister yakajja bwana agenda wakeyo okuvayo ejja kuba problem. Is it possible that at least ajja today, then we bring her tomorrow ajjire ddala waka? And I don't know what had happened to the man. I don't know whether he knew he was guaranteed his wife was here. He allows the man to take the lady, the bride, from the airport to go to this man's home. Had even provided an address that was not there. It was a different address. This person was not living on the address. And this man allowed the wife to go there in the hope that they would be brought back, like the following day, because she's coming to live there. It's long. Please. And the woman disappeared with the man, never to be seen again. I mean, this left the man very traumatized. And it's one of those things that you wouldn't know what it actually
for you, it's just a story. I had a friend in the same scenario.
Yes.
He got the girl, the baby girl from Uganda, were tuned, well behaved. As soon as she landed in London, he never saw the girl. But the girl was kind enough to say that, okay, I'll pay back all the expenses spent on me. And then don't have. I think that girl the girl was a nice one. At least she paid the husband all the expenses that is paid on her.
You don't pay for the heartache. You can pay the financial aspect.
Yeah, but we blame their friend that you have. They are two. The two never much. They had less in common. So the girl was a stay girl, very beautiful, all makeup. She was used to everything. When she met the boyfriend, the wife, the husband to be, was old man, old fashion. So problem started, and the girl disappeared. But lucky enough, he got his money back. But what I'm telling people, here I've got a very big problem. In Kampala, especially in Uganda, there's a man who pays for rent, the one who pays for dresses, the other one who pays for transport. So it's a combination of a girl having 4 boyfriends. So if you get one of those, she's going to do the same thing over there, and she'll make your life hell. So advice is, if you have to look for someone, better get someone who knows.
You are.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Isa Makumbi. I'll come back to you, inshallah. Let's widen out the conversation. Ntale says, obutaba na buba kibi nnyo. Obutaba na buba kibi nnyo. Ntale go gambye bw'otyo leka nzije gy'oli mmale nzire wa Moses Center. Ntale, go ahead, please. Hello, Bwana Ntale. Hello, Ntale, are you there? Let me go to Moses Center. Moses, welcome to the conversation. While Ntale makes up his mind. Hello, Moses.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wembogo, how are you, Sebo?
Alhamdulillah, nsanyiza okuwulizaako mbeera y'omumoli naye
Mukamoli nkugyeyo omanyeno program nyanjawulo nti tetuba situzze kusomesa obwa Seeka Mbambwa amuddeko nenfuuka producer wa program kati ebeera conversation nti program yennyini eri built around mmwe abantu Sebo. Owulidde ekibaddewo actually emboozi ebadde tutunuulira dynamics eza family mu diaspora naye ekyobufumbo ekyembaga kiringa ekibadde kikyakutta omubabiro wootuukidde nga tubadde ku nsonga ebaddemu waliwo eyaze Zaid Mahbuba Sheikh n'aga nti ebitundu 40% eby'abantu abali mu diaspora bwe baagala okuwasa bakkirira ne bagenda okuwasa naye mu bo ebitundu 95% obufumbo bwabwe busebengera. Bitundu 5 byokka bye bisigaddewo. Tubaye tugezaako okwanalizinga mu nsonga ezo. Simanyi oba olina kyokiwulirako oba at least kyokyogerako oba n'ekyabaana baffe okuba nti batandise okuba nti bafumbirwa ab'amawanga amalala omuli abeeru naye n'ab'ensi endala ate okuva mu baddugavu bennyini.
Kituufu mukadde wange kaakati naye kansooke ngende mu maaso nga mpuliriza kuba nakeeyungako. naye era nja kubaako nange kenkasukayo evening
buli kyabadde aŋŋamba nga nti agire gaawuliriza naye njagadde nkwatirize ng'okyayokya nkakasa definitely kino abakyala emitala
wanjisebo
ekyokujja abakyala emitala kyo nkakasa definitely otera oba ng'okiinako kyokigamba
emitala siyinza kiwakanya kubanga n'atokosa wano w'emitala
nedda nga wamukimayo obukimi oba wajja naye
nakima mukime
wakima kati tola ndi mu mboozi mwoli mwennyini ate olwo badde oyagala kunziza bbali
guno akutte gwabirimu ebiri ng'afumba
subhanallah kakati olabye nti asigadde mbali abataano ku 10 ababadde boogerwako kyama ki ekirimu ng'ogjeemu edduwa kyama ki ekirimu mu kyo
webali kukona ku nsonga kubanga yeekulembera byonna then n'okuba nga weekenneenyezza mu ntandikwa nga tofudde ku ndabika yokka naye n'obaako n'ebirala byogobera kati nga ffe ab'enzikiriza eyange tutunulira nnyo oba tukubirizibwa nnyo okutunulira enzikiriza y'omuntu mukwatagana mu nzikiriza bwe muba nga mwembi mubadde ekyokulabirako nti mubadde bawadi mu buwadi bwammwe mukwatagana tojja kufuna munno nga yeewaabwe bakuba ettaali kukamala ate gwe omukutuuka eno omuganda tojja genda mu baganda bikuba ttaali bagenda kuwasa tojja kwegamba nga mwina bye mukwatagana omuwadi byayita mani haji entegeera bwe tuba tuli babulaadi bwe tuba tuli bamutemampale tuli bamutemampale bwe ŋŋamba nti ono namusiimirwa nikaabu ate naye ansiimirwa ntemampale tusobola okusukumuggya eri ne weesanga ng'ate bwe mutuuka owaka muyina ebitakwatagana kati ekyo ekimu ku bye natunulira bwe namuleeta twali tukwatagana obutundu kale 85 ku 100 kati ako kaali kamu oba mbuyite ntya mu lulimi Oluganda mbuyite nti oyinza butuumu otya obulungi obuli gwe nakulembeza kale points
oba obukwakulizo
obukwakulizo bwe nakulembeza abukwakulizo ba conditions
obukwakulizo ba conditions bino bwali badde ebirungi biwalaba oba ebirungi biwali ogenderera essira kuwalisa
ng'omuntu nga nti nze alyagadde omuntu ono musange ng'ali bwati mwagala bwati kale byonna sojja bifunayo naye kale nga owangudde 5 ku 10 5 n'okudda waggulu kati bwe twesanga nga tukwataganye mu ebyo ne tukiriziganya ninga nti kyangu nkuwangula ennakkiriza nti akale empangula tutambuza gwa 22 era wona amaze okunsiiba wano ebyokulya byange agenderawo.
If you are a non-Luganda speaker and you're part of the conversation, Sheikh Musa Sentam is saying that he got married and for 22 years he's been married to his wife and they are happily married and he got his wife from because part of the discussion that was coming in was if 40% go to marry back home and only 5% have succeeded to keep it, probably now that 5% might start widening the moment you get more Moses Center moves. His first look was the religious aspect, which was did they match? Were they matching religiously? Two, he looked at those other, characteristics that stood out. The behavioral patterns of the person. But mainly, I mean, the religiosity set the foundation for him. And for 22 years, he's been married. Bwana Sentamu kakati ekibuzo ekyendaga okubuuza nkakasa mu myaka egyo 22 nkakasa Allah abaweereddemu ezzadde.
Yakutweramu basatu.
Allahumma amin. Kati ku baana bano balaba nti batuuse ekiseera kyabwe ekyokwagala okuwasa n'okufumbirwa. Waliyagadde onaaba omukolera nteekateeka olabe bw'omukimira emitala oba awase wano waakulidde waazaaliddwa?
mutima nali agadde wazaaliddwa kubanga entegeero ogenda kutuuka anti nange nali navveeri kati obula saafa naye kati nga kenaga nti mulina okuba nga mukwatagana nontegeera mu bintu byammwe bye mutambula day to day life okitegera olunaku byange byali bikuba nga bikwatagana nnyo n'enzikiriza yange era kusaalako simanyi kukola kuterako kakyayi kakati owaawano gwe nzaalidde wano ebyo si bye ebyange ate akawala akakulu kamazeeyi ka graduating the last week kakati kubuno bwengaba buno bwabiri buno ninayo gye bayita old generation kati eno ye new generation naye mu new generation akokubiri kali ku university naye nze embeera mbubuulirira nti abaye naali agadde olumala bwe muti mugenda katandika kagamba nti waayo oli kuki tunoonye oba gwonoonya tukoze tutya naye nga ntera nnyo mukuba ekyokufaananya nti kati gwe guno otambuza gwa 22 ate nnyo kubaamu mpalina 18 kati oyagala kuŋŋamba ani mukulu ku mmwe maama we olaba namuwangula nakati akyafumba saagala olwewo naye nga mba ntambulira mu kiye kyalabanga kikiyinza omwanguyira okutambuza obulamu singa nkeera enkya ne mugaa nti owaayi mu kukimira ebunaayira gye bali bakazini baani abaana b'abakwano bange basomye Kurani simanyi ziri mu mutwe naye tebajja kukwatagana obulamu nga bwayagala omuwala obutambuza oli omulenzi bwayagala obutambuza okujjako nga tonna oli bagenda kuleeta gwe bagenda okufuga obufuzi mingi nnyo abawakufuga wadde nga si bonna kati kirungi wawano ne bakwatagana ne batambuza obulamu bwabwe ekyo yeringa entegeera yange ate nga bwe muzikayiseeko erabika yabwe
hajati mumpere salaamu awo yeebala okuwa kakyayi n'ebigenderako ssebo
wahuriye
yampulira
eyakuwulira bulungi nnyo atudde wano
hajati weebale kukola omulimo weebalire kimwe Naam, barakallahu fikum. If you've just joined us, the program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira, 26 minutes past 9 o'clock in the United Kingdom. Bwana Ntale, badde nkusaba naawe gye tukuwulireko. Yes, okay, your network is bad, Bwana Ntale. We could try and hear. AC joined us pretty late in the conversation. Yusuf Musa Kezimbira must be listening in the background as well. 15 Pro Little Tiger has been on from this very start of the conversation. I'd like to hear, probably tickle you into a conversation. 15 Pro Little Tiger, assalamu alaikum. Hello, Little Tiger, are you there? Ntale, assalamu alaikum. Network ubandondaja niteli bulungi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Nabika natera ngenda asembeera ekibuga kubanga tulimbadde tutambulira mu ddungu.
Okay, barakallahu fikum Sheikh. Jebali kusi oli ddungu lyo esawundi sebo.
Esebo.
Naam, sebo.
Ontwala Jidda.
Naam.
Katwale tuyita mu ddungu lyaffe nga olimanyi.
Allahu akbar wa lillahi alhamdu. Mungu abatambuze mirembe. Bakomawo bajja.
Bano bajja buzzi.
Bajja
buzzi. Waliwo abali mu kujja alhamdulillah. Watonotono just family alhamdulillah.
Okay. Naam, tuli ku mulamwa ogw'okubeera mu diaspora. Saudi simanyi waliwo bwangu ki omuntu okusobola okuwasa omukyala e Uganda n'agenda naye Saudi.
Ekituufu kiri nti bwebanga ekibuzo ky'obuuza jja kireeta nakyo mu mbeera nti kisinziira era omuntu kikyakola wano na bulamu ki bwawangaaliramu. Tojja kwesanga nga naddala kati abantu abamu atuuka e Madiina okugeza.
Yes.
Atuuka n'alaba nga embeera waliwo byayinza obutasobola naye ogera neweesanga nga era omuntu kyangu okuva e Kampala ng'abadde alina expectations nnyingi Anyways, nzikiriza nze neogulemu ku katono okugambe nti abazadde abamu agenda edda naye ne kaakati waliyo oli n'afumbiza omuwala omusajja nga olw'okuba asomera Buwarabu kati ye n'atunuulira essente ezaavangayo luli n'azisuubira nti ze zikyavaayo.
Nabadde nsuubira nti zeeyongerawo Sheikh Ntale kubanga kakati Saudi ngagga okusinga bwe yali mu kiseera kiri.
Omanyi tulina n'ogula abafaanana naddala abalala nga 10. Kati sente zigenda mu bingi. Luli twawanga abasajja bateekanga bamanyi ennaku zino ne balonado balina okugulwa. So waliwo ensonga eno naye kati sebo ze nabadde njagala kubuuza ekibuuzo mwogera ku bakyala bokka naye wabaddengawo ebiseera bye mbadde wano nga oluusi abazadde asookuga nti twetaagayo abavubuka asobola okuwasa muwala wa mwannyinaze oba muwala wa mukulu wange. Ndowooza era nakyo twetaaga okukitulamu kubanga nze ebiseera ebisinga mbadde nga mbagamba abaneebuuzaako ne mbagamba bannange bw'oba ogenda genda naye teri okusajjalata kyempulira Baseka Kassim Kayira bye yatugamba okusajjalata kutono. Bwe ngamba okusajjalata kugamba okw'olulimi okutegeeza omuntu okwegazaanyiza mu maka n'obeera ng'owa ebiragiro nga bw'oyagala. Ogyeko okusajjalata okw'oku street okw'okulunduganga ng'embuzi omusajja tabali bwanzaalo naye kati nze ngamba wano omusajja okubeera nga ye alaba nti ye balina omukolera buli kimu. Namugaa Yesu oli muwalimu naye olina okumanya gy'olaga. Era abamu babaddengawo gundi sikwazi ezimu naye nga abamu bagenza abandi bagaa nti aseeka oyo bityo sijja bisobola. So nakyo kyetaaga okubeera nga
olesemu element empya for those who are not very conversant with Luganda. Sheikh Ntale Sigarako, just a quick one just to bring it to the fore, because we were talking a lot about marriage and it seemed like it would be mainly the men who go to back home and get married and bring ladies from there. But increasingly, there has also been another particular trend that is also in the diaspora, which is women who are, faithful women who are performing very well. They have made their money. They can't find suitable husbands here. The idea has been look outside, and it's not necessarily Uganda. It may be a Ugandan, but who is way in Saudi Arabia. He's a Hafidul Quran, he has memorized the Quran, and therefore, they say this is a man that you can find. Bringing that sort of man now, falling into this kind of situation, married, the excitement, the whole, dilemma that comes with finding yourself in a new environment. Some homes have worked, some homes have not. Sheikh Ntale, yes, nsaba nkomyewo katono, then ngende wa Mariam omukono gwe gwenda bwoguli waggulu tegula kufuuyirira. Obuuza ekibuuzo kirungi nnyo kyenkakasa nti ngenda kukifulagi ngeno gye kiri naye quite often waliwo eyo element ebadde empya, trend empya ey'abakyala abali e Bulaaya ate okunoonyeza abasajja naddala e Saudi kubanga atuuka ng'agamba omusajja asomye Qur'ani ye munywevu n'aba nti ajja kuba mulungi wa kusobola kuleeta. Cases zibaddewo abaffe kubazze bafunye batya banguyiriddwa batya okubeera mu bufumbo bwabwe bakyaliyo oba owuliddeyo abatambuddemu?
Okutwaliza wamu abazze bakyaliyo alhamdulillah. Oyinza obutababuuza nnyo baliyo batya naye tusuubira nti baliyo mulungi, tusaba Allah bongere obulungi.
Allahumma amin.
Kale okuwa mugondi okuva kazindaalo. The problem is where you look for a Hafiz Quran, but the girl herself is not even fit to be a Hafiz Alif.
Yes.
Now your hopes are in the man to come and change the trend of your girl to another person whom you have not been able to take, whom you have not been able to nurture. Kachabamba Kakana, they are just living the life and maybe being patient. Naenga aga wallahi nati cheke chitu nachigwamu naenga akole dawa. ate nagikolera wakasookere kuba no wange naashira takala karabini. Let me
That's very, very
pass with my family.
I knew about, but I had not thought about at all. And it's a very interesting element that you've journeyed to Jeddah, and all the best in the Lagid Abaso. Thank you very much. I mean, Mariam, I bring you into the conversation. Getting interesting. I mean, this is one element that probably some of you, if they are non-Muslims who are on the program, you might not be aware of this, but there are families, I mean, where you want to maintain, you know, the religiosity of your family, and it doesn't actually have to be Muslims necessarily. It may be that you are a parent living in UK. There is a man who has gone for studies, you know, the Vatican. They finished their theological courses. And you'd rather, you know, they get married to a good son. Everyone would want a good husband for their daughter, a good wife for their son. And sometimes it is to what extent, what length will you go? Mariam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Go ahead, please.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi
Oh,
wa
Hajjaj Mariam,
barakatuh.
nsanyusa okuwuliza.
Nange nsanyusa okuwuliza ssebo.
Amiina nnyo. Tuli ku mulamwa.
Weebale kuleeta omulamu omulungi.
Allahumma amin. Ng'omuzadde.
Omuzadde. To bring someone from Uganda, men or women, it's a luck.
Yes.
It may work, it may not. Because some of the marriages, few worked, but some of them they again failed.
Yes.
I have my brother. They brought him from Uganda. The woman brought him from Uganda. He bring him here. My brother think he's a man. He don't know that he's a... Hello?
Hello? Yes, you don't know?
My brother yajja n'amatantalooza ajja kuba maani asajjala ate.
Yes.
He wasn't like that. He kept crying, oh, the woman is tortured me. The woman tell me this. The woman tell me I brought you. The woman told me you are dirty, we are this, you are that. As Nemugamanti, you have to be patient. Kubanga chewayingira si changu ate tetwagala okiveemu. You have to stay. Naye they are going through a lot. This is 7 years now. He goes through a lot. He cries. He said, this woman, he tortured me physically and mentally. Sometimes he comes and say, oh, this and that. Yeah, so many things. I say, if you feel like you want to leave, he say, I want to leave that woman. I just want to go away. I say, if you want to leave, because they have 2 children, if you leave, you may be satisfied yourself, but the children, they will suffer. Just continue, be patient until your marriage worked. Now they are 7 years, but they are still up and down.
How long should the patience be then? If you invest 7 years of your life, you are not growing any younger. If you are unhappy, it might just affect you, especially when someone mentions physically and psychologically.
And mentally.
Yes.
Mentally. One day he came and said, they live outside London. He came here and said, Baba, my sister want to come and tell you this and that. I said, this woman. Nemugamba nti bw'oba olaba ng'obufumbo oba buganye kale tugambye emyaka egisooka tugambye gumiikiriza, be patient, naye bw'olaba kiganye ate ojja kufuna mento, tetwagala ofune mento. Bw'olabira ddala nga kiganye, walk out. Kubanga abantu bangi bali mento ate bafiira ne mu nnyumba. Ne mugamba oyinza okwetta. Ffe nga tugamba gumunkiriza oyinza okwetta bw'olaba nga kigaanye better work out akati ngende akuvaawoko ndabe ate bwe nvaawo kwegamba bingi. The woman called the police. This one, he tell me that I be with my daughter in the bed. The daughter is very young. Why you sleep with the daughter in the bed? Why do this? Nemugamba obolaba obufumbo buganye. Walk out. Kubanga olumu abantu bangi tubawulira betta. So tetwagala omale kwetta. Another marriage are not sit witness. The man brought his wife. They came together. They are not brought, but they came the same day from home. The man was mwaule, dozi mwaule, babayita batya pastor, ba priest.
The church, I think the ladies, yes.
Yeah. Twabeeranga tukola fonna same job. Bombi tebalina mpapula. Fenna tetwalina. It's working. Kati. The woman was so sharp, very sharp than the man. Woman finding omuntu ayinza omuwa empapula yogedde naye, he talks with that person, they agree the money, blah blah. The woman they gave her the paper. So after they giving her the paper, she went back home. That time was so quick. When you get the paper, they give you 5 years. He visited back home. He came back. After that, he started moving away. The man, he doesn't see her. After that, she moved away. The man ending up go back to Uganda because the previous mwaule, he can't keep. Yabeera tasobola kubeerawo ng'omukyala wa mudduseeko n'abeera ng'ali stressed. Oluvannyuma yagamba no, let me go back home. So that woman, I think he married the person who gave her the paper.
The paper, yes.
So
paper yakifunamu
emirundi ebiri. Married okubajja abantu Uganda is a luck. Ate ng'abamu bawaakinga kubanga tulina omuwala wano yamujja Uganda omulenzi, muwala Nancy. Mulenzi we bakoledde ddala balina kati 4 kids. They married work. Naye it's a luck. It depends. It's a luck.
Barakallahu fikum Ajati Mariam. Thank you very much. Abdul Karim, nsabankulete mu conversation. Abdul Karim, go ahead, please. Hello, Abdul Karim.
Yes, KK.
Naam, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey, Daniel, I'm sure you are listening in. When I come to you now, you'll have had a much clearer picture. Welcome back, Abdul Karim. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, family dynamics in the diaspora. Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, we have a lot of challenges, but I think what we're trying to ignore here is the generation cross relationships. And that's where I would think the problem comes. Let's say I'm in my 40s, I go down there and I'm expecting to get hooked to a 25-year-old. There is a big difference in expectation, ambitions, and everything. And we try to ignore that when we are focusing on marriage, and it's just for convenience or either pleasure or something else. And that's the root cause of all these instabilities in marriage, as I may say. But to the young generation, what I would say, I see no difference whether, as long as they are within the same age bracket, the difference is really minimal. So I would just encourage the youth here who are ready for marriage, if you can, get a pattern, get to know each other and give it a try. But what's critical is There are more girls here ready for marriage, and there are no men ready for marriage. That's a fact.
What happened to the men? Is it just the usual statistical thing, or the men are not ready to be married? Because it looks like in terms of numbers, we seem almost to have similar numbers of boys and girls, but the girls are ready to be married and there are no boys. I don't know what the implication of that is.
No, the girls, I think they try to mature quickly. The girls are more acceptable to the environment we live in compared to the boys. They try to suffer because they have different egos, expectation. There is a black man fear if we consider the black communities. So all these come to play. And you find that the boy kid is vulnerable. He's left in a corner. And by the time he's 25, the girl who is also 25 is thinking like he's 30 or 40.
Yeah. And
that's a big challenge. Whoever, I got boys, but I just tell them that these are the challenges you expect. And that's the reality. That's what I see. I don't know. But if you're going into marriage, I would say it's better you understand each other, especially the culture clash will come to play. You may ignore them here, but as the marriage goes into time, you see the difference in terms of food, in terms of friendship, in terms of language. Because I have a friend who is married to a Nigerian, but the Nigerian brings his folks and they tell him, can you prepare jirao food? But the lady can't prepare matoke. So it's tricky, but
so would you rather are you suggesting then that people born or raised here, or people who live in the diaspora, should just look for marriage within the diaspora, not import from home, as has been the tradition for a long time?
If it's within their generation, the location doesn't matter to me. It's about how you understand each other. Because a girl or a boy who is within 20s, he's more or less reasoning or at the same wavelength than a boy 20 in anywhere in the world. It's a global village.
If I'm understanding you well, Abdul Karim, if I'm understanding you well, you almost seem to suggest that 50-year-old Kaira now shouldn't get married to a 25-year-old or 30-year-old. Is that two different generations?
Absolutely. And I would
be living in similar times.
Absolutely. That would be wrong. That would be very insane of whoever goes to such a big cross-generation relationship. The girl may have her own expectations.
Most of the men, when we get married, Abdul Karim, when we get married as men, you're trying to get kunonya musai mupya musai muto.
Yeah, I understand, but it's just because we just want to fulfill our egos, be comfortable. But you look at a bigger picture. The lady is 20, you're 40, 50. Come on. She has a different life. That's to be genuine. But if I want to satisfy my ego, I need a fresh blood and do this. I think if it was my real daughter, I would say, no, this is not fair. If you want to go for a second wife, at least try to look within a close age generation. I think it will make more sense and you can meet within the middle. But if the bigger the generation, then, expectations are going to wider.
Abdul Karim, I'm about to bring in Jaden, who has asked now, what are you suggesting? And the point being, of course, because I think you seem to be contradicting yourself slightly, because you said girls seem to grow much faster than the boys. So a 25-year-old girl would be comfortable to marry a sort of 30, 40-year-old man. Because if she's already thinking that fast and looking ahead and maturing much faster. And there's also the safety and the safety net that comes with the ability. If a man has money by 40, 50, you have created a particular, stability in terms of income, in terms of presence, as opposed to a 20-year-old, 28, 30-year-old, unless, of course, you have been fast-tracked in a different way.
That you could be right, but we should differentiate between a wedding and a marriage. You know, if a girl is coming in for 50 and he's 20, he's coming in for security because he knows Mr. Keke has billions of money on his account. He has estates, he has property. So
and what is wrong with that?
It's okay, but it's not a bed of roses. I'm coming in a relationship because of what you are, not that I love you. You get me? Yeah. I need a comfort zone.
Abdul Karim, this is the picture. Let me paint this picture for you. Abantu basinga, you live here, you've been living in your stress in America, in Australia, Ogenze, Kampala. And actually, I was surprised to hear that it is the same also with women, because I was speaking as a man, but increasingly speaking to women. I've also noticed that there are women who go to Africa to find comfort. There will be men abalina obudde bwonna basiba mu gym ne bakajjuza zimaso zizimbye ng'alinze gwagenda kuziryako. So someone comes with all your stresses from Europe. You arrive there. Kasire queen ntale akayise kasire queen. Kasoka kakuterawo embeera. At the end of it, you're just going to the marriage. You are marrying a person because they've painted the picture of what an ideal person would be, until, of course, you carry them and bring them over. What Hajat Mariam was saying is lack, that there is lack involved in there. But then there are all these mitigating circumstances, things that are playing around. I see the point you're trying to raise in terms of age, but I'm also seeing the realities of what is on the ground, that people would want to get the insurance, the assurance, the security and safety net that someone needs, which are all factors that you cannot simply ignore. While you are talking about the cross-generational, we cannot ignore these other aspects that come with that.
Yeah, I hear you, but what I'm saying is marriage is very complicated. It's not a one solution for all problems.
Right.
But lady going in for such richness because someone is rich, so she has expectations. You know, we come from polygamous families. The jaja, the aunties, the whole clan is looking at you. Musajja muwase, the guy is rich. Ekika kigenda kukola ki kuvaayo. And the woman will come in and bagamba kuyiwawo omubiri. Whether you want to food at what time, she will bring it. She doesn't care. But she has her own goal. And once that goal is achieved, you see her true colors. And there is no way you're going to define how someone feels about you. I don't know. If there was a way, then we wouldn't be in this quagmire of marriage breakdowns.
No, Allah is, but if God had given us an opportunity to sort of know what is in people's hearts, then we would look as far. We've seen people change so fast and living broken hearts, a trail of broken hearts.
But me, my focus would be on the young generation, the digital generation, because they have a lot of challenges. Because our challenges are, we have a setup of home management whereby the man is the head of the family. And when you come to such environments, it doesn't apply because of the different challenges we face. So if we teach our young kids that, man has to be the head of the family, I think we are heading in a different direction. Because
by teaching, Abdul Karim, don't we need to live by example? Because teaching is one thing, but if they don't see you living through that, because if a wife is not home, you've come home, you are home with the children, wife hasn't come, for you to wait for wife to come and cook. If you're home and you're able, if as a man, you sort of showed your presence, you carried out some of these things, wife comes and can even serve, there's nothing wrong with serving food that you have cooked. There is that kind of you living or parenting by example, instead of just having to just say words. You will know that people learn more from observation than actually just being taught.
Yeah, you could be right, but that depends on where the environment you are in, because it's applicable back home, but I find it very tight to apply it here, because we have this mind setup of coexistence and equality, you know, and drawing a line that, oh, Mr. Kayira, you need to cover 90%, I cover 10% because I'm the head, you may find you're off the cliff.
Thank you very much, Abdul Karim. Let me bring in plus 977 into the conversation. Thank you very much, Abdul Karim. Message in the chat room. Tale achari waganti na yenda mwandu emyaka 28 abasobola 50-year-old man very well. Obuzibu kufuna ka slay queen. Go ahead, iPhone. Welcome to the conversation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa
barakatuh.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And you
Zanyo tutekera misomo gino wabulanze bakale egaji kutomba bitono jinse sasa kubanga.
Yes so.
Allah mayi chintu marriage is so funny. Yensu viranti simmere nti matoke buli omwajjagali agamuwomera kyekimukale. Waliwo akantu kenjagadde nteekewa okubantu ababa bakuzeemu bannaffe betuli nabo betukuze nabo naye waliwo kasitole si kasitole mukwano gwange muwala ali eyo Sweden yagenda Uganda eyo afunayo omulenzi mwana muto ddala naye mikwano gye gyonna ne bamwogerera biki kati lumu ne bamusanga ne message nga mukazi musanyusa ne bamugamba sorry sisobola kwogera nnyo ne bamugamba naye tolaba nti ono mwana akulima naga nti ebyo byennyini byaŋŋamba bye binyumira nze njagala bino omukyala mukulumu n'agamba nti n'agamba ebyo byennyini nze bye binyumira nze temunyumiza ebyo oba nimba nze byenjagala
bummalako stress.
Kakati ekigambo marriage nze point kale biri cross generation ndooza byetwogerako ono nze nina abaana naye nze ku lwange ng'abaana ng'omwami avuddeko Seeka Karim bw'agambye naye abaana kyetaaga n'obabuulira amazima nti nze nsobola kufokasinga kale ku ddiini kubanga mwana kirungi nnyo n'omugamba n'awasa ddiini kwegamba n'afokasinga ku ddiini mainly kubanga nti kale yes ffe tulina culture zaffe ne ties e Uganda naye omwana bw'oba bamuzaalidde wano tagenda kubeera native wa Uganda. His nativity oba nativity for her ejja kubeera culture gy'ajja okusinga okutegeera yawa provided nti omwana oyo gwasanze oba muyindi oba mukibwa anaaba nga balina bondi ey'obusiraamu nze naali kiwagidde nnyo abazadde ne tulema kubeera so uptight genda ono n'omwana Uganda oba ne tukibateeka namu nti bw'okula obwasanga Uganda kubanga Uganda yes as much as nti twabajjayo nti ffe twakulira bano abaana tebajja kubeera be Uganda okujjawo nga choice ye akuze n'agamba nze movie nze Uganda nja kubeerayo n'ebiriyo byonna nja kugenda nabyo naye kati ekyo ekintu wajja kubeerawo obuzibu kakati bano abantu omukulu waliwo feeling gyemfeeling nze titeri muntu mukulu ali myaka 4 oba 5 nsirowooza nti by default ayinza okuba nti mwegyo emyaka nti obufumbo bwe busoose bwagamba okufumbirwa either omwana omuto oba omuntu omukulu mba manya ali either ya second oba
bawerera ddala Bulaaya n'ekintu nga byamukwatirayo byamukwata yagenda okukana nga wajjidde okuwasa mwana gye gakoma
kati yabeera exceptional naye majority bantu obufumbo bwabuyingiramu olwaleero neŋŋenda nga ndi 50 n'empasa omwana omuto tekibeera nti ntindo kyekipya waliwo point nkirireetinga ku mukyalo oli waliwo point eyo omwami gyaba feeling oba void gyagezaako okukola ki okufiiring up kati the outcome ate naye aba aware nze ndi sure of that mba ndi sure nti oba awasiza omwana ekigendererwa kye kyakusanyukamu egyo emyaka aba agimanya 2, 3, 5 aba akimanya ajja kugenda kubanga yensonga lwaki ali attracted gwoyo omuwala emyaka 2 ng'oli 50 naye kati olwaliwo enva wano neŋŋenda mpasa omukazi ali 35 and 50 there is a chance nti nina kyengenderedde mu ekyo kyendaba nti waliwo long time naye abaana abato ensonga nkulu nnyo eyo ensonga nkulu nnyo era nze mba mmanyi nti omuntu aba agicalculate nze omukyala oba omwami kati outcome ezo nze siri nnyo gundi amused nti tekyawaakinze no way mba mmanyi nti waliwo Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi
Our daughters never like to marry Ugandan men. That is Mariam in the chat room. They find much interesting in Western men. Reasons they say men from Uganda are very stingy. That's where the Nigerian men have come in actually to, well, have quite a presence within our community because they come in, they are very good at spending, very, very good at spending. Jaden, welcome to the conversation. Sebo, I open you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hajati Mariam is putting it loud and clear. Our daughters don't like to marry Ugandan men. They find much interest in Western men because they say men from Uganda are very stingy. Well, we are talking about family dynamics. You're one of the people I had a conversation with building up to tonight's conversation, Jaden. First of all, your own take on the dynamics before we break down now into what has seemed to actually have taken over much of the conversation at 1 minute to 10 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I think my take on the topic itself is that there are so many filters or fillers to that topic. Because as you have realized in the discussions, people are talking about money, people are talking about age, people are talking about location and culture, religion. So that topic is quite wide, and it's interesting that it's been broad. Now, there's a couple of things that I wish to comment on, and I think it was one of the Hajjats who talked about a brother who married a woman, and a woman from a different culture, and she brought pork and alcohol.
Pork and alcohol, yes, it was Hajjat Sarah.
Yeah. I think that was really extreme because most people have come across from Uganda, especially. They're quite sensitive to such religious differences, especially. Okay, alcohol, they are not so much, but when it comes to pork, any discussions around pork, you will hear people starting to say, oh, there's a Muslim around, there's a Muslim around. So they kind of respect that element that Muslims with pork don't mix in any way. And for that woman to have done all that, it would mean that she's, I don't know how they call it, kuzarao. You know, she's insulting the man. He's become worse than a piece of furniture in the house, and she can afford to do all those things. Because I remember when I recently visited Uganda, an old friend had opened a restaurant, and he was showing me around, and there are certain places where he was kind of shooing me away from the back door. I was interested in seeing what's the back of this restaurant like, and you're saying no, it's quite busy there. But I later on learned that they had a big, like, clay oven for making roasting pork. And this is a friend who we've not seen ourselves in years. Yes. But because he knows I was a Muslim, he respected that, and he didn't want me to go to that level. And this is a fellow man. And for a woman who you have had children with,
married to,
you are married to. Yeah. That's the real extreme, and I would say it was very unfortunate that the man went all those years doing that. Second point I wanted to bring is about the age difference. I think that was Abdul Karim was talking about age.
It seemed to have touched the chord with you. Yes, the generational, the cross-generational relationship. Yes.
I agree with him that women or females mature much more quicker than the men, and a woman at 25 is ready for marriage, while a man at 25 is still moving on. But it's all down to the way we are brought up, because if you see how a baby girl of 5-year-old is brought up, they are trained into the caring role, because a child of 5 years is capable of caring for a little girl a little child of a few months. You know, they can carry her on the back, they can feed the child, they can change the nappy. But a boy of the same age is not able to go out and generate income for the family, for example. So there's that early upbringing where the girls are trained into that role of caring, that role of motherhood, that role of submission at an early age, so that by the time they're 25, they have the full experience. But how many times have you, for example, Sheikh, have you taken your son out and say, okay, I'm driving the bigger Uber, next time today you drive the smaller Uber? Now, you don't do that for a 15, 16-year-old. You wait until they're fully mature, both physically and mentally, before they go into that role. And this is what delays the men from having going into those relationships at an early age. But what is interesting is that if we look at marriage from top down, for example, a man of 50 wanting to marry a child of 16, that is frowned against because of that age difference. But for a girl, a woman who has reached 20, 25, she can comfortably get married to somebody of 60, even up to 70, and nobody will say anything. They'll say the odd things like a slay queen, she's looking for minerals and this kind of things. But
for inheritance, because you are dying soon.
Yeah, the inheritance also comes in along the line. But she's mature enough to run circles around the man of 50, around the man of 70. While you, the boy who is 25, you might not fit well with the woman of 35 because she's doubly mature compared to yourself. You still have those childish mentalities of bringing friends around when she's thinking of building a future for yourself. You'll be thinking of going out to enjoy when she's thinking of settling and raising a family. So there's that difference of family dynamics as far as age is concerned. But what is more interesting in the UK here is what I would call reversal of roles, the stereotypical roles that we have back in Africa, where the man is the bread earner and the woman is the submissive and the home carer. Now, when we come to the West, we find that women are empowered to take leading roles. They can go out and make their own money. They can make their own decisions. And in some cases, you find that when the family is entitled to benefits, for example, the benefits is assigned in the name of the woman. And when the woman takes control of the finances, that is where the problem comes in. And those dynamics are very common. I've seen it amongst my friends. I've seen it in my workplace, where women are given that control of the finances. They make the decisions in the home as to where they live and where the child goes to school. And the man takes the back seat. Now, the African man is not used to taking that back seat, believe me or not. Whether he's got money or he's got no money, what we used to call maskini jeuri. He's got no money, but he'll want to be there.
Yes.
He's got no money, he's got no status, but he'll want to be, and he'll insist to be the head of the family. And that is where the problem that Haji Makumbi described comes in. You come with a bride from Africa, she comes in, she gets a little bit of induction and indoctrination from the people,
from the seniors who have been around,
from the seniors who have become fixtures in they've become fixtures, and before you know it, and with females being more mature than women in terms of communication, in terms of making decisions, in terms of networking, before you realize it, she knows the corners of the city that you don't know. She comes with friends that you ask yourself, have you been in this city all along? And they say, oh yeah, I've been here 20 years. And you've never known them, but your wife, who has come in recently, a few years, has such friends. So they have that advantage over the men because we are kind of reserved.
Yes.
Yeah, our vision is maybe limited to our personal family development, but the women have got that wider horizon. So what I would call, they've got depth and breadth in terms of their development. And the dynamics is not limited just to father, mother. It goes down to the children. And you find that the culture that our children have developed here in Europe, in America, say the Western world, is very different from the culture that the children back home take. I'll give an example of my daughters, and my intention for them is to get a good education. And when they reached the A levels, I was trying to dictate to them that you have to take this course, because in my mind, I know that these are the courses which will make them successful. But there was a raise of arms in the house, and I was outnumbered in no time. And I was saying, Dad, this is our life. This is the way we want to go. And you find that authority which we come with from Africa is completely eroded, and the dynamics changes to children starting to make their own decisions, mothers making their own decisions, and the man who believes is the head of the family suddenly becomes isolated. We could go on and on about these dynamics, but
now, Jaden, you talk about having the daughters, and from an education perspective, there is a way you wanted, well, you wish to have it. But now, when it comes to marriage, which I think has stood out as one of the elements, what would be your wish? Is it up to them again, or your wish would be for them to import from across the continent?
My wish has always been religion at the far front. As long as you follow the same religion, I'm not really worried whether you bring from Uganda, from South America, from India, but as long as you've got that unifying religious element within you, because I know that is the one thing which will unite our families when we follow the same religion. Because, for example, when it comes to cooking, my daughters can comfortably cook a Chinese meal, for example, and we say, this is restaurant quality food. Yeah. But when you ask them to boil cassava or potatoes, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge to them because it's alien to them. But this is the food that we grew up with. I'm not saying they can't cook, but they will not cook with the flourish and the enjoyment and all the little knickknacks that their mother can do, because their culture is completely shifted from our own culture. Not that we have failed, but it's because they spend most of their times with other children, with educators, and in their peer groups, and that kind of thing. If you've got a way of bringing them back, I would gladly sit with you and say, how can I bring my daughters back so that they can be like the traditional Ugandan women?
So your preference would be, it doesn't matter for you, it's religion. It doesn't matter wherever they marry, as long as, at least from a faith perspective, they match, you're happy with that.
I'll be happy with that. That would be the benchmark. If they go further, or if they add the bonus of saying, I'm bringing a Ugandan man, that would be the bonus. But the benchmark would be the religion.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jaden. Hasbi Allahu wa ni'mal wakil. Your hand was up, and then we were comfortably still sliding with Jaden. If you can come in, please. Your hand was up. Go ahead, Hasbi Allah. Hello, Hasbi Allah. Oh, he's given up. His hand was up. 11 minutes or 13 minutes past 10 o'clock, nearing the end of our conversation. We've been really, absolutely, well, in depth, and marriage always is always an issue. And whenever it comes up, just be assured it will stick in there. And it is one where it's a combination of dua, of luck, if there is anything like luck, of choosing, like Moses Owembogo was saying, Hasbi Allah is back. Yes, go ahead. Hasbi Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Yeah, I'm asking you to unmute yourself, please. I don't know if you've seen that again. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, please. Hasbi Allah, go ahead and unmute yourself, please. I'm getting you to unmute yourself. Oh, still holding in there. Chat room is gone quiet. Hasbi Allah, go ahead. Trying to get you to unmute yourself. 14 minutes. Oh my God, time flies. 14 minutes past 10. Oh, Daniel disappeared slowly. And I've seen Faisal while I wait for Hasbi Allah. Hasbi Allah, once you're ready, you'll just bring you on. Faisal Muonge, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, Faisal. For some reason, I can't. Well, just click on, because I'm trying to, if I click on that, just click on the unmute button, because at least your audio is on. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Now, yes, sir.
I think we are missing a point still. I think we are missing a point.
Yes.
Which
is how are we missing the point?
This country, you cannot. We are comparing two countries that are not the same. This country wasn't built on the same system as the African countries. Europe is really different. Now, children grow up. Children grow up knowing that if I get married, I have to share everything with my husband or with my wife. If it's the bills, we have to share. Mortgage, we have to share it. We have to share everything. Yeah. Now, you bring in your wife from Uganda, expecting to be treated as we treat them in Uganda, that you're going to provide everything for them. Yeah. The system doesn't allow you. So the system cannot protect the marriages. You have, if you're born here, or if you live here, you have to blend into this system. Yeah. If your husband has brought you here, or if your wife has brought you here, you have to blend into this system, that it is a sharing system, equal share. Yeah, whatever we do, we share. Yeah, in Uganda, it's not the same. It's not the same. So people come here expecting heaven on earth. Yeah, that you're going to provide everything. You're going to, because you come here. I have my mortgage, or I have bills to pay. For example, I'm spending £2,000 every month. Then you become a bill as well. Yeah, if you're my wife, you become another bill. I have to spend on you. Then a year or 2 years down the line, I cannot provide for you the way I provided when you had just come in. Now I'm so used to you, and you're working as well. I'm asking myself, why don't you contribute? And when I ask you to contribute, you become agitated and angry and mad. Why do you ask me for my money? My money is my money. Your money is our money. It doesn't work like that in this country. That works in Africa, in Asia, not in Europe. It's our money. Your money is my money. My money is your money. I think that is the point we are missing. The marriages can't work when people expect to be treated the way we treat them in Africa.
Understood. Hasbi Allah. Hasbi Allah. Go ahead now. You have the mic.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh, Kayira.
Wa alaikum salam I was wondering why you had failed to manage to unmute it.
No, there was just one button here to press. Yeah, but thank you very much. I just wonder how you surmount the challenge. It can be after all the good speakers and especially the wise words of wisdom from Janed. I always enjoy his comments. They always, mashallah, full of that.
I'm sure
fantastic. But this is a very, very sensitive topic, and I think on the literal side of it, I think marriage hasn't changed, and its purpose shouldn't have changed. So should be the roles. Marriage has always had 8 letters in it, and it's always made out of man and a woman. 5 + 3. It takes those 2 numbers to make marriage. So it hasn't changed much, but we do try to change it. So what I would say is that when we come into marriage, we come into it as a product of our own background, and that background can either be influenced by our education, family, culture, religion, let alone the acquaintances we happen to come across and build around us in our life. And all these go a long way to inform and define our aptitudes and aspirations, and thus also our attitude to marriage. Now, we are looking at we're talking about a point where someone is going to marry. Should he go back home, or should he marry where he is? I think that's a very interesting question to ask. But is it going to be the most important question? Depending on how you rank your questions, how you set your order of priorities. And I think in the hierarchy of priority of questions, there is going to be one that is fundamental. It's going to form the basis for marriage. And then the second question, and then the third question, and then the third question. So if that's the first question is going to be, for me, it would be, why marriage? Why do I want to marry? And why this specific person? And for every single one of these questions, the questions are going to be genuine. They should generate a genuine answer, right? If the questions are going to be wrong and misconstrued, definitely, I may get the impression that I gave me the right answer when actually it is wrong. It's, for example, me asking Sheikh Kayira, what's the capital city of England? And then you said to me, well, I'm not going to say Kampala because Kampala is the capital city of Uganda. That sounds like a right answer. That's not what I've asked for. But if I get contented with that, I might get the impression, yes, I had the right answer, and I move on. So in the process of asking, why do you want to get married? We need to get the right answer. And there should be genuine answer, not the answer that satisfies the needs of our acquaintances or the people we brush it or other people we look at. We have to have the reason why we marry. And then we look at the person. Once we know the genuine reason, we go to find the person who's going to fit into the line that will serve that purpose. Whether that person is going to be here or whether he or she is going to be from abroad. That way, I think, is one of the areas we often tend to forget. There is a trend that I've known of recently. I often hear it very much among the youngsters. Whenever they think of someone as a potential one to be, they always ask their friends, especially this is very common with the girls. Mujye munsimireko. I don't know if Mr. Sheikh Kassim is familiar with that phrase. Yeah. Mujye munsimireko. Now, the mujye munsimireko question or opportunity is the hardest thing and the most dangerous thing you can ever expose yourself to.
Simply put in English, being the vetting, it's like you're asking your friends to come and help in the vetting process of the potential husband.
Exactly. Who is going to frustrate? No, this is wrong. That's because it's very difficult to tell someone no. Well, but vetting would be different. But when you say mujemu nsimireko, no one is going to say it's bad because you can upset someone who will hate you for life. Now the issue is sometimes in the process of
sorry, Sheikh Suleiman. So when you say mujemu nsimireko, it's already someone who has already decided on someone.
Exactly.
They just want you to come and join in the praise wagon.
Just endorse. It's just about endorsement. And when it comes to endorsement, and that's why Sheikh Kayira, even if it doesn't say mujemu nsimireko, it's always very difficult. Someone asks, you know what? I'm looking at this girl. What do you think? It's very difficult to tell someone, oh no, she's bad. At least the much you could say, you reflect some question, put question that you need to reflect on. have you thought about this? Have you thought about it? But to say, well, she's not, and he ends up, going for that, for the same person, you feel embarrassed. And if anything goes wrong, it can cause all sorts of problems. Now, coming back to your question, Sheikh Kayira, I do have a profound feeling that I think the most important element in any approach to this important and very strong institution that sustain, a stable community, a stable family, is to think about one's close relationship with his creator, one who understands the purpose of life. I cannot emphasize that enough. Although sometimes we do emphasize the financial side of it, the behavior side of it, we do have so many people well behaved from across societies, from China, Japanese, America, whatever. But when you don't share that which connects you to your creator, I think that can be a very missed opportunity. But what extent do you share that? Is this something because you've seen someone who puts on a kakaya, or she comes from this family? Now, when you find that you got basic information, more informing information about that, then it doesn't matter where that person comes from. I don't know whether this question is always posed by people from different communities, because I know there are communities who say, no, I wouldn't think going back home. And everyone said, no, not going back home. But we Ugandans, it appears, we seem to have had throughout history some of the behavior and the character and mannerism that appears to be adorable to many people. And they seem to have prepared a woman for the role she had to play in the marriage, in as much as the husband understanding their responsibilities. And maybe that's why this question keeps coming back. We don't say that marriage is carved out of a rock, that a square mold will only give you a squared product, not a circular one. But that mold, that marriage itself, is not immune to challenges, no matter how religious the person is going to be. It doesn't mean it's not going to be immune to all temptations. You might bring someone from a family which is very well, grounded in terms of faith, but once they are exposed to the environment, they start demonstrating being victims of what you call the arrivalism mindset. Kubere Bungereza, that's it. Ate kati nawe wanoisewo Uganda as if UK is and we have seen some people, you have seen some Europeans. I don't say Sheikh Kayira, you are familiar of I don't know whether she's German or Russian, German woman who went and married a Kenyan Maasai man, and she still lives with that family, and she feels happy. So this arrivalism very much epitomizes where people are coming from, maybe a less advantaged communities, and that tends to wreck the boat. I still believe we still have those strong values and religious background, and well-cultured spouses to be from home, by home I don't mean home in the village where I come from, or from where I was born, which I wouldn't recommend even my son to go and buy a piece of land. But throughout the society altogether, there are still those well admirable and adorable values which can constitute, inshallah, the foundation for a stable marriage. So the question still is a valid one, but just like Jaden and so many others, I think faith should be at the heart of this. And secondly, as the Prophet ﷺ also emphasized, إِذَا أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ فَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. Once you see someone about whose character and whose faith you are motivated, then that should be the right person. And he was not talking about culture, whatever, but you find in some of other narrations, he talks about what we call compatibility. Okay, and this compatibility actually does not alienate so much the element of culture and tradition, because trust me, understanding someone's language and understand their way of behavior, you don't know how much that constitutes the foundation of marriage. For example, Sheikh Kassim, I had a few students of mine, I don't want to mention which country they were coming from, and I was invited to their home, as a guest, to know, because I've told them for 5 minutes, about 5 or 6 years. And alhamdulillah, they respect me so much. So I went, and they provided me with, it was just coming to Maghrib time, and they provided me with, some food, and I was waiting for dinner. So the sister came, and they put food in front of me, and I was sitting with a friend of mine I went with. And then at the window was somehow the curtain, she wanted to draw the curtain. So she came and jumped over the meal, the cup of tea and the rice under the cakes. Wallahi, Sheikh Kassim, that was the end of it. That was the end of it. But I cannot blame her. I cannot blame, because it is normal for them.
With them, it's normal, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was where you come from, it's taboo.
Exactly. I was speaking to my son a few minutes ago that, look, what do you eat, chicken toes? They say, no, not for me. But it's not haram. Say, okay. How about the head? Say, no way. Then I said to him, how about if it was fried alongside, the drumstick and the wings you eat? Say, no, definitely I can't eat that. Now, think about the chicken head is not haram. The toes are not haram, but it's part of the culture.
And go to a Congolese, and they can never believe they've bought chicken without the head and the feet.
Yeah, well, before you can even think about snakes and alligators, yes, and lizards. So I think, going back home, it should not be seen as, being, home-centric, but there's quite a lot of things we're talking about, and they might not need to be neglected. And I'm not going to say other elements don't work, but there's looking across and talking to many people across the community, and people come to you for some kind of help. There appears to be a little bit of difficulty with so many youngsters who are married, trying to make it work when they are born and raised here, not only in our community, but also in other communities. But for those who have chosen to go and maybe reach out, from a distant where people are not so much exposed, to influences, who can sit down and understand, the realities, and whether they seem to be agreeing on the purposes without, pulling so much. It appears to be working. I'm not going to say it definitely works, but I think there's a very, very strong element of that justifies one's consideration to go back home. Assalamu alaikum.
Barakallahu fikum wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. Hajat Sarah just says on Sheikh Zaid's comments, I would like to add that the same applies to men too. They should forget Oksajjarata, because if women are going to contribute 50%, then they will not be as submissive as you would expect them to be if you are the sole provider. Faisal Muonge says, are Muslim dating apps permissible, especially for youngsters? Well, the dating apps actually, Sheikh Suleiman, you are still there while you are still at it. Well, let's have this out of the way. Are Muslim dating apps allowed? Are they permissible, especially for youngsters? Because it looks like we are already getting our own type of Tinder, the Muslim Tinder part of it.
I don't know. I don't know what's the dating app, because dating has its own, natural connotations. But if by that you mean the platform where people can use as a starting point to look for their potential spouses, I don't think it can be wrong, because just having an app and knowing that, then from that you take the normal process that reduces or minimizes unnecessary interaction. There is nothing wrong with that. But as for dating, of course, dating has no place at all in Islam in the context of the Western meaning as we understand it. But as a platform where you can know someone who might be interested and give you basic information, even if you write a volume about yourself, that is not enough, because we know the conventions for knowing the person is not only about what they say about themselves, but you really have to take the necessary steps to get the basic and the more informed information, the more informing information about the person. Allahu ta'ala alam.
Barakallahu fikum. So for your own children as you go, and I bring in Sheikh Intale, Sheikh Suleiman, for your own children, would you rather they marry from here or from across the board, the continent?
I think the answer is I've already mentioned my answer, and we're always having the discussion, and we've had to inform and advise and discuss very, very seriously, and we have moved the goalposts. We are all moving goalposts, and the issue is, I think what we need to emphasize to many of our youngsters is we know we are trying to understand what they want, but we also want them to know that we wish them the best in life. So when we offer some advice, we do ask them to give them a little bit of consideration, serious consideration, because I think as they will also need to come and discover in life, the best teacher, no one is, the best teacher is the experience. Although everyone's experience does not apply to others, but there is a lot of wealth of information and meaning from people who have got experience. So I would say we are moving goalposts. That's all I could say about your question.
I agree very, very much. And I think in the chat room here, Zam has texted us to say, Nze, I was brought from Uganda and I have been married now for 15 years, but it has not been easy. It's probably easier to marry from here or wherever you are. Men who bring women bachisusa as if they brought a property. Oh dear. Yes, I've heard you loud and clear. I wish you can come on Zam if you're happy, because we are actually over our time. But if you are willing to come on Zam, I think it will be very good to hear from you. I would also wish to hear from someone who has been married, say, to a white person, because we're talking about people marrying away from us. But probably if you're married, if you've been married to a white person, either man married to a white woman or white woman, black woman married to a white man, would be very, very good to hear from you. Sheikh Ntale, go ahead, please. And Zam, I'll try to bring you off the back of Sheikh Ntale, please. Sheikh Ntale, go ahead. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I'm coming back, though I have already submitted some. But hadithia إذا أتاكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه. At times we get to discuss with my brothers here that they are talking about a person from each family and a poor family. Because I always tell them, and we always say that Jehovah na Jebudaze jogeranga mu Uganda atatuka ku Bungereza nti naye abaddeko oluusi ne tusiikanako n'abantu abava mu diaspora, si Bungereza okka, but people from the diaspora, you meet them, and I think one aspect ya gundi ey'obulabufu, how urbanized are you? I always tell my friends and that over from Kampala Road, you'll always be like a villager, the person who was coming from Birmingham. Like a person from a rich family, to me in Tale, I will always be like a villager to a rich kid. So hadithi idha atakum man tadhadinahu wa khulqahu, pisa za wagaga ziyinza obutafaanagana, like the conduct kugamba n'empisa z'abaavu, ekyo kyetaaga okwetegereza. Ekirala, I think obuzibu tusanga yakyogerako ng'omuntu gwe wali atasikinzeeko okunoonyeza mostly abawala ku bawalimu abasuumuuseemuko naga atwagala muwalimu nga naatera okufuluma awo awase muwala waffe, bawase bawala baffe. You find a problem nti omuwala oluusi ayinza okuba takiriiko naye n'atandika okulowooza nti maybe the guy may come here and he just wants papers. Ekyo nga ye kyalowooza, and you find others gaga tejja kujja naye akaseera kajja kumalawo katono atandikeyo waddayo Kampala awase. Nayo issue ndala, kubanga njogera perspective y'abasajja nti ezo fears zibeerawo, naye njagadde nnyo okwogera ku nsonga ya al-khuluq nti tuyinza okuba ffenna tuva Kampala naye empisa eza munnakyalo n'eza munnakibuga oluusi zaawukanira ddala. Barakallahu
fikum. And that's a conversation that will not definitely end tonight, just like it didn't start tonight. Zaidi walikuinaka kuocha as we close. It looked like you had come in. Hello? Okay, that's perfectly fine. 37 minutes past 10 o'clock. Very good conversation, but I'm sure this is a topic that actually we might have to come back to next week with a different emphasis, because it looks like tonight we've just eaten that entire space that is just gone into this bit, which is a very important bit, because with that, I think sits in a lot. This might actually turn into a little mini series that we might just do over 2 to 3 weeks, just looking at the diaspora family dynamics, because there are different strands to it. Tonight, we've just gone on to the marriage aspect, but I'm sure now there are all the different twists and turns that we might be able to look at, especially, inshallah, come next week. I thank you very much for your time. It is a conversation that is beginning to attract a lot of you because it is a global community conversation. We are touching on the real issues that a lot of times we have been discussing in our own sitting rooms and probably in the corridors, but now we are getting a platform where we discuss issues directly, where we try to find solutions. Some solutions work for some people and don't work for others, but at least you have a choice. When you have a list of ingredients, you can choose what you want to have in the catalog than not having it. That way, I think as a community, where we thought we were coming here and going back very quickly, it is becoming much more clearer that we are here for the long haul. And therefore, we must be ready for what comes with where we are. It just means then we have to adjust. And like Sheikh Sulaiman Chibuka has put it, the goalposts have kept moving depending on the circumstances. I thank you very much. The program is Come Let's Talk with me, Kassim Kayira. We were live on 75W Radio, live on Ummah Connected, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Zoom. Hope to see you next week, Tuesday, inshallah. Don't miss Ummah Connected tomorrow at, lunchtime, the usual time, for Sheikh Kassim Kayira continuing with the Riyadh Salihin, but also Baker Chinji on 75W Radio later on at 7 p.m. Hope to see you next week. Please do not miss 8 p.m. Hope to see you. Assalamu alaikum.